Thank you so much for your kind words. B'rishus Reb Moshe Shlita, Rav Weinberger Shlita, b'rishus Kol HaKol HaKadosh Hazeh. It's been, as they say in America, a long weekend. Sof Shavua Aruch Ma'od. The truth is, I just realized, in Lubavitch they know that Yutes Kislev, when it fell out on Friday, was called Yutes Kislev Ha'aruch. The long Yutes Kislev. You don't want it to end, and you make sure it doesn't end. So there's Friday and Friday night and Shabbos, and of course Shabbos day and Mitzvah Shabbos, v'chuli v'chuli. I'm not going to tell you about my schedule the last few days. But Baruch Hashem, Shechiyonu v'kiyimonu, agut yomtiv, agut vach. To one and all, it's a privilege to be here with you in Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh, celebrating the Chag HaGeula of one of the greatest souls and minds in the history of Judaism. Somebody whose Torah I have the merit and privilege to learn every single day and to teach quite often for many years. And I am grateful to Hashem for giving the world the soul of the Alter Rebbe, the soul of his successors all the way to the Rebbe, who have revealed to us the texture of reality in unprecedented ways, to be able to suck the marrow out of life and live every moment of life to the fullest with joy, bliss, ecstasy, and the experience of oneness while holding space for all the pain of brokenness. The Alter Rebbe, the Balatanya, Rabbi Shnei Zalman of Liadi, was liberated from imprisonment, Yutes Kislev Tov Kuf Nun Tes, at 1798. The next year, Yutes Kislev Tov Kuf Samach, which means 1799, December 1799, many Chassidim came to the place where he moved to, called Liadi, it's in Belarus, to celebrate with him. And that Yutes Kislev, the Alter Rebbe said a Maimer. The Maimer began quite fascinatingly with the words, every Maimer Chassidus begins with either a Pasuk or a Maimer Chazal. The Maimer Yutes Kislev Tov Kuf Samach 1799 began with a Maimer Chazal. Which one? Shabbos Daf Chof Aleph Amud Beis. L'shon ha'acheres kavum b'halal v'hodah. After the miracle of Hanukkah, where the oil burned for 8 days, the next year they established the 8 days as days of Hallel v'hodah. Gratitude, Hallel, praise, light, and gratitude. So that everybody understood this was L'shon ha'acheres, the year after Yutes Kislev, the Heilige Kedushas Levi of Rabbi Y Y Jacobson, who, by the way, when the Alter Rebbe came out of prison, he penned 2 letters to 2 people to tell them the story. One to Rabbi Y Y Jacobson and one to Rabbi Nachum of Chernobyl, the Moir Einayim. And not the Nachum of Chernobyl, the Kedushas Levi of Jacobson, and the other one, Rabbi Baruch, the Moir Einayim passed away a year earlier. It couldn't have been the Moir Einayim, we just realized. It was the Rabbi Baruch of Mezhebush, the Rebbe Baruch, the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov. 2 letters, very similar. The Yitzchak of Aditchev writes in Kedushas Levi, why did they wait a year to celebrate Hanukkah? Why didn't they make the Yom Tov that year? Why wait a whole year? And he answers, because Yom Tovim in Yiddishkeit are not commemorations of a past event. The same energy that existed the first time exists every year on that time. So when Hashem makes a holiday Minat Torah, there's no question. But when the Chachamim have to make a holiday, they don't know if that's what's going to happen. So they had to wait L'Shana Haba to the next year. And when they felt in the atmosphere of the universe the same energy of Chanukah the year before, they knew, now we can make it L'Shana Haba Kavum. So the next year, Tov Kuf Samach, he said the Maimer L'Shana Haba Kavum, which means it became a Kviyas of a Yom Tov, Ad Bias Goyal Tzedek V'Ad B'Chlal, the Gilui of Pnimiyas HaTorah, of the Nishmas HaTorah, of the soul of Torah, which is the soul of Klal Yisrael, which is the soul of Hashem, which is the soul of the universe, to be able to live with your soul, to be able to live with your Pnimiyas and Atzmiyas. That was the Maimer L'Shon Haba Kavum. It was a short Maimer. It's printed in a sefer called Maimoriat Merazokin HaKtzarim. But it's a short Maimer, I don't know, a half a page. You could probably learn it, not probably, I'm telling you, you can learn it for 90 years. You could learn the Maimer for 90 years. The Maimer said the first Yutas Kislev. I want to say one line from that Maimer. The Balatani, the Balagul, the Rebbe says over there, he says something very interesting. He says, what is the greatest pleasure in life? People are always looking for pleasure, for bliss, right? Bachrim know it pretty well. They're looking for pleasure. Where's the next show in town? Where's the next show in town? I'm here. People are looking for pleasure. People are looking for tainuk. But there's two types of bliss. There's one bliss that is a distraction from bliss, and there's a bliss that actually takes you to the frequency of bliss in the universe. The two can be very confusing because the first one also looks like bliss, but it's a distraction from bliss. In other words, it's blissful long enough to distract you for a few minutes from your search for bliss. But right after that you're with a void and you're on to the next piece of action. And then there's a bliss that turns you into the actual frequency of bliss in the universe. There's a frequency of bliss. What's the frequency of bliss in the world? The answer is Ein Sof. Infinity is the source of all bliss. It's the source of everything. All goodness, all bliss, all life, all light. That's the frequency of bliss, but it's a frequency. You have to tune into it. There's a frequency of guilt. There's a frequency of shame. There's a frequency of hate. There's a frequency of self-shame, self-hate. There's a frequency of jealousy. Anybody's familiar with these frequencies? They're powerful. Then there's a frequency of love, frequency of trust, frequency of surrender, and a frequency of bliss. They're much higher. They're higher frequencies. They're not so easy to access because they're not pulled down by gravity. But once you tune into them, they're very liberating. And the Alter Rebbe says, how do you tune into this? So he says, what's really the deepest pleasure? If you'll ask people, how do they get pleasure? They'll always talk about something they're going to do to give them pleasure. But he says, but let's think about it. What about the pleasure of their own life force energy? Truth is, most people don't think about that, the life force energy. But he says, without your life force energy, can you experience any pleasure? If a person is chas v'shalom not alive, or they're completely numb, they can't experience any pleasure. So every pleasure you experience in the world is only through experiencing your inner life force energy. The truth, however, he says, to experience something as pleasure, it has to be unique. And our life force energy is constant. So people just take it for granted. They're not even aware of it. If they would have experienced the moment of their creation, it would have been amazing, but they weren't there to experience it. Once they're created, it's constant. They don't even look at it. V'zeh to'us gadol, he says. And this is a great error in life. Because the only and exclusive source of bliss is your own life force energy, which is purely divine. Hashem puts in his life force energy that comes through you and you and you and you and you at every single moment. And he says, therefore, this is how you have to read the Torah. Bereshis is a question. Bereshis, what's the beginning of everything? Answer, Bara Elokim. That right now you're being created. Right now you're channeling a whole new energy into the universe. And it's uniquely yours. And it's right inside of you. And to experience anything in life, you need that life force energy. And that's the source of any tainuk that exists, and that tainuk is always there, it's always available. And it's completely the godliness, the chelek elokam yimal that you manifest right now, right here. But there's so many blockages and distractions that it's even so hard to go there. But the moment anybody has ever touched that space, you know exactly who you are. You never compare yourself again to another person. There's no jealousy anymore. You also have a clarity. There's also no question of am I secure, am I insecure. Your confidence is unbreakable because you're divine. You're just a manifestation of the divine. There's a powerful teaching of the Mezritcha Maggid, whose Yom Dehilul is, Yartzeit is also Yotes Kislev, Tavkuf Lamed Gimel. Right before he passed away, he looked at the Alter Rebbe, and he said, Yotes Kislev is unser Yom Hilula. Yotes Kislev is our, so to speak, our anniversary, our celebration. He passed away that day. The Alter Rebbe was liberated that day. The Moyer Einayim, Reb Nachum of Chernobyl, Schusay Yogan Aleinu, in Sefer Parshas Bereshis, says something he heard from the Mezritcha Maggid. One of the most beautiful teachings I've seen. You could probably write 3 books of psychology from those 6 lines of Moyer Einayim. I'll try to do it in 7 minutes. He says as follows. Everybody knows this. We grew up with this. It's a Rashi in Parshas Vayeshev. It comes from Maseches Seita Daf Lamed Vav. It's also in Medrash and in Zohar. Vayavay habayis lasas malachtei. Yosef HaTzadik comes home to do his work. There's nobody there. And Eishes Potiphar, the wife of Potiphar, who stayed home, she grasps him by his cloak, by his kapota, his sartuk, his bekesha, maybe by his strimel, I don't know, whatever. She grabbed him by some beggar. Shichva imi, vayazoiv bigdoi biyada, vayonas vayetze achutza. He leaves the cloak in her hand because she grabs it, it's torn, and he runs outside. Zog the Gemara, what does it mean? Vayavai habayis salasas malachta. What is that supposed to mean? What does it mean he came home to do work? An argument, Rav and Shmuel, one opinion is literally he came home to do some work. He had a lot of work to do. The Targum writes, Lemivdik bekisve de chushbana. He was also an accountant. So that's what he did. The other opinion in Gemara is Lasas Trachav Ima Nichnas. He actually surrendered to her. He acquiesced. After such long nisyonis and gruesome nisyonis, finally, Vayavai habayis Lasas Malachtai Li'ima with her. So what happened at the last moment? Muzdi Yoiknoi Shal Yaakov Aviv Ra B'chaloim. He saw the visage of Yaakov, his father, in the window, and he abstained. He ran outside. And everybody wonders, what was that image of Yaakov and his father? According to the Gemara, Yaakov gave him a message. So it was actually the words of Yaakov. The Zohar just says he saw the image of Yaakov. He knew what Yaakov looked like. He was 17 years old when he left him. He grew up by Yaakov. He was Yaakov's ben skunim, ki yoseav mikol banav. He knew what Yaakov looked like. What does it even mean he saw the image? Was this a mystical vision? Was this an otherworldly experience? Was it in his own imagination? Did Potiphar's wife have a television and Yaakov was interviewed on CNN? I doubt it. What does it mean he saw the image of Yaakov, his father? So the Holy Meir Einayim says something that the Holy Mezritcha Magid, Rabbeinu Doiv Ber Baladei Lulav Yitas Kislev, says as follows. This you have to open your minds and your hearts. It's a very, very deep Torah. I'm going to try to bring it down in English the way I understood it, at least one aspect of the way I understood it. The whole world learns. He's looking at the wife of Potiphar. She's extremely seductive and tempting. The Gemara describes in Yuma Daf Lamed Hey what she used to do. Every meal she changed her entire attire. Begadim Shalav Shachris was not mincha, was not mine. You can imagine Potiphar's credit card bill. Like in the Pesach programs in the hotel, they have to every. For those who go to hotels, you understand it's an inside joke. If not, you're lucky. For me, it's not a problem. I just wear this for 8 days straight. But for the Nashim Tzidkaniyas, it's a different meister. So in any case, lahavda. But in any case, the Gemara describes in graphic detail who this woman was. She was a powerful person. And she threatened him with guten and with schlecht, and I'll poke out your eyes, and I'll kill you, and I'll destroy you, and I'll crush you. And she came through with a lot of her threats. This was difficult. And he's looking at her, and he surrenders. But then suddenly, somewhere he sees the image of Yaakov. Where? In a window. B'chaloim. The Meir Einayim says that's not what the Maggid teaches. The Maggid teaches it's much deeper than that. As he's looking at Eishes Potiphar, and he sees himself and his own craving, suddenly within that, he sees the image of Yaakov, his father. Within that experience, looking at Eishes Potiphar a little deeper, suddenly he saw Dmus de Yoikno Shel Yaakov. What is that supposed to mean? Yosef was 17 years old, but he was Yosef HaTzadik. He was an aware young man. He had awareness. And he asked himself the question that every real person has to ask themselves. What am I looking for? Why do I want her? What is it in this person that I'm searching for? There's a search, there's a yearning. Don't just look at the software, look at the hardware. Don't just look at the tzurich hitzoinis. Don't just look at the taiva from the outside. Ha'adam yirei le'inayim, Hashem yirei le'aveh. What are you looking for? What are you looking for in Eishes Potiphar? What is she going to give you? What solace? What comfort? What depth? What wisdom? What desire? What passion? What fire will she fulfill in your life? What void do you seek to fill that she will do for you? That's a deep question. Yosef asked himself that question. You know what his answer was? His answer was, I'm looking for tiferes. I'm looking for beauty. I'm looking for harmony. I'm looking for something to enrich my life. Diversity, colorfulness, passion. I want something interesting. I'm a slave in this crazy country, all alone in the world. I want color in my life. Who doesn't want color in their life? I want excitement. I want zest. I want zest. I want passion. I want colorfulness. I want chiyus, animation, vitality, energy. That's my quest. Tiferes. Tiferes is beauty, harmony. It's also diversity. It's also compassion. It's also empathy. And the wife of Potiphar was promising to deliver this. And then Yosef looks to himself, wait, am I really going to get Tiferes from this woman? She's married. 5 minutes later, this is a top secret. It's all over. It's a game. Yosef asks himself, what is the source of Tiferes in the world? Who embodies the origin of Tiferes in the world? Who? Yaakov Avinu. So imagine you're at a smorgasbord of the most gorgeous wedding in Yerushalayim. You know those smorgasbords? The smorgasbord itself cost $180,000. I've been by those. That's the smorgasbord. The sushi itself is whatever, more than most people's salary for a year. And there's all this amazing food, and then you go to the garbage, and you look for the bones, and you look for something that somebody threw out. You know, the piece of sushi they threw out. Yosef says, I don't understand. I'm going to go to the psilus of Tiferes. I'm going to go to the Tiferes, the way it came down to the wife of Potiphar, which doesn't even have anything with me. I can go to the source of Tiferes. I have a father. As he looks at Potiphar's wife, he says, what am I looking for? I'm looking for Yaakov. I'm not looking for Eshes Potiphar. I'm looking for Yaakov. I'm looking for Midas HaTiferes. I'm looking for my inner divine beauty. She can't give you your inner divine beauty. Nobody can give you your inner divine beauty. No crush in the world. No addiction in the world. No craving in the world. No distraction in the world can ever fill the void of you needing to feel the experience of your life force, your energy. As the Alter Rebbe says, "Hatainuk hayoser gadol." Bereishis bar Elokim, your life energy. And then you're never bored with yourself. I once heard from Dr. Twersky, the famous psychiatrist from Pittsburgh, Dr. Abraham of Rabbi Avraham Yeshua Heschel Twersky. He said it in public. He said the doctor once told him that he needs to go to a spa and stay in the bath, a hot bath for 30 minutes. So he's Mekayim the mitzvah, l'shem yichud, he goes into the spa. He asks the attendant over there, can you give me a newspaper? He says, no, you can't have a newspaper. Could you give me a book? No. Could you give me a phone? No, garnished. That you have to stay in the bath yourself. So he said, for the first 2 minutes it was wonderful, it was like a hot bath, a nice sauna. But after 3 minutes, he said, I became miserable. I didn't have what to do with myself. And then he realized, I am so bored with myself. And he realized, I am the most boring person to myself in the whole world. Give me anything. Give me a paper. Give me another person. Give me a telephone. Give me anything. Just don't give me me. The aside of the whole Chassidus is, can you discover your own life force energy? Because there's nothing more exciting in the world. How do I know there's nothing more exciting? Because God decided right now to manifest His infinity through you. Bereishis bar Elokim. When Yosef understood this, he's like, he suddenly realized what he's really searching for. I'm not going to confine it to this limiting addiction, which is not even going to satisfy me for more than a few moments. I can have chutzah, infinite tiferes. If I could take this Meir Einayim one step further and use contemporary terms, I would say this. You know what Yosef really realized? He realized he wasn't looking for the wife of Potiphar. He was looking what most Bachrim are looking for when we go for so many different distractions, kosher ones and unkosher ones. And you know what it is? Yosef realized he's looking for his father. He's looking for attachment with his father. He's looking to heal attachment wounds. Because when a person doesn't really feel attached, he's looking for Yaakov Aviv. Thank God Yosef had attachment with his father. He had a father who never stopped crying for him, who had a father who never stopped believing in him, who had a father who never gave up on him because he knew he wasn't dead, he knew he was alive spiritually, and therefore and therefore when push came to shove, the Vayemoyin of Yaakov empowered the Vayemoyin of Yosef. There's only two Vayemoyins in Vayeshev. The Vayemoyin L'Isnachim of Yaakov empowered the Vayemoyin, the Shalshelas of Yosef. That's why it's a Shalshelas, because he was connected to a chain. He had Veikus V'nafshoy, Kshura B'nafshoy, as we would say later about him and Yaakov and Binyamin. The Muzdi Yoikner Shal Yaakov Aviv. Suddenly he realized, Nichdaf Atata, I don't need Ashes Potifar. We all have voids, and we run from one distraction to another distraction to fill them. What I'm looking for is, I need to find my real attachments. I need to find authentic connection. Authentic connection can never be taken from you, because it's the connection that you own. It's the connection that is innate. It's the connection that is intrinsic. It's the Midas Hatiferes that cruises and vibrates and pulsates through every cell, every atom, every neuron, every sinew, every bone, every limb, tissue in your body. The Musti Yoiknoi Shel Yaakov Aviv Ra B'Chaloim. You always have to ask yourself, what is the wound I want to heal with this relationship, with this distraction? What is the void? And will this fill the void or will not fill the void? And then you make a choice. If it won't really fill the void, why are you going to the dregs when you can grab Yaakov Aviv, begin healing the void, begin filling it with that which is yours forever. That is the energy of Yechelek Elekamimal Mamish. That was the great Gili of Pnimiyis HaTorah, to be able to help people identify, number one, what the real void is, and therefore identify, number two, how at any moment they can hold space for the void and then fill it with that which is eternally and intrinsically yours for eternity. Thank you, Agud Yom Tov.